Planet Media Studios in New York, this is iPower 2 This Moment.
As New York cops try to crack down on crime on the New York subways, and the numbers show they have removed hundreds of people who are breaking the law underground. The MTA now coming up with a new policy, a new kind of mandate that officials hope will keep repeat criminal offenders from being allowed into subway stations. But how does one do that? Check everyone's ID? How does that happen? Here's Marcus Solis.
That was terrifying, to be honest.
East 241st Street is Gigi Banks' stop, and she knows what happened here last week. A homeless man shoving a bag of feces in the face of a woman on the platform. As shocking as the unprovoked attack was, there's outrage the 37-year-old suspect has already been released under the state's bail reform law.
That's horrible. Like, I don't know. The justice system, it fails everyone.
Today, the head of the MTA renewed calls to ban people who repeatedly commit crimes in the subway system. Speaking at an NYU event, Jano Lieber said the agency should have the authority to keep some riders out.
We take away driver's licenses for, one drunk driving episode. Why do we have to let these kinds of people? That guy had 19 priors and had attacked subway riders.
The idea is not new. The two previous MTA chairs also proposed banning repeat offenders. The question is, how would that even work?
The fact is the subway has 472 stations, and even with 3,500 police officers patrolling them, there's just no way to find the one person who everyone's angry at, who's, a repeat offender.
The policy director of the Riders Alliance calls the proposal a distraction, saying the MTA should focus on improving service, which will bring riders back to the system, thus making it safer.
With faster overall trips, which happen if you run service and have to wait less for each train or bus, the transit system will be more competitive. So there's a real safety advantage because it'll bring more people into it, yielding safety in numbers.
Mayor Adams has also ordered stepped-up enforcement. The first week of the NYPD's crackdown on quality of life violations resulted in 134 arrests and over 1,500 summonses issued. Improvements that, for now, have been overshadowed by scenes like this.
Well, guys, my car broke down literally in the middle of the street.
The FBI arrested a man after they say his TikTok videos helped identify him as a suspect in a robbery spree in Metro Detroit. Chosen Terrell Hanna of Redford, Michigan, goes by Chosen World on TikTok. The 22-year-old posts videos of himself mostly singing and dancing.
And my faith will be made stronger.
He's racked up nearly 150,000 followers. Local authorities had been investigating 4 armed robberies of convenience stores that occurred from December through February 1st. According to a criminal complaint, an anonymous tipster pointed investigators to Terrell Hanna's TikTok page. They noticed similarities between him and the suspect described by witnesses, specifically his hair color and the sneakers he wore in this video. Investigators say they match the sneakers the suspect was wearing in surveillance video of the robberies. According to the complaint, while some witness accounts describe the suspect as taller and white, investigators say they attribute those accounts to Terrell Hanna having light skin, the clothes he was wearing, and the circumstances under which the witnesses observed him. The complaint also states Terrell Hanna confessed to committing the crimes when questioned by police. He's charged with robbery affecting interstate commerce and possessing a firearm. He's being held without bond.
1, 2, 3. A simple exercise in team building. And another in intense focus. Police officers and civilians working together, 7 of each at the Irondale Theater in Brooklyn. It's a 10-week program culminating in a live performance at the end of March called To Protect, Serve, and Understand.
I became increasingly aware that communication was breaking down between police officers and civilians. So the catalyst for me was the Eric Garner case.
Director Terry Grease says he wrote to then Police Commissioner Bill Bratton, saying it was, in part, poor communication that contributed to this tragedy. Bratton encouraged a pilot program, now in its 7th year. Every week starts with dinner, with provocative questions and answers on the table.
If you had the opportunity to change your uniform, would you?
It's not just who I am now. When I put this uniform on, it's who I can be, who I want to be.
I'm not putting on, anything that I didn't work for.
Then, working as a group or in pairs over the next several hours,
What is it like to see with your whole body, not just your eyes?
Civilians and officers explore and learn to trust. The goal here,
I'm in my regular clothes, I'm just regular old Nick, but I put the uniform on, it's like I'm not even recognizable.
to try and understand the world through each other's eyes. Zulaisha Redford has been an officer for almost 6 years.
Being able to listen and hear the perspective of the community can actually give us a wake-up call of what went wrong and how can we do better for the future.
This space has given me a lot more courage than that I really didn't expect. It has helped me to really challenge how I view police officers.
Elle Chen lives on the Upper West Side and adds she appreciates the challenges and camaraderie. Henry Gregoric, an officer for 5 years, says he's grown through the shared experience here.
We can see better where each other are coming from. I can use that in my day-to-day policing by just speaking with people and trying to step in their shoes.
54 days after the tragic high-rise fire in the Bronx, additional help is reaching survivors and families of the 17 people who perished. CBS 2's Tony Aiello was in Fordham Heights as the Muslim community shared the generosity.
The flowers on the memorial have faded since January, but the need for financial assistance has not. So, families impacted by the fire at the Twin Parks Northwest building lined up for aid, crowdfunded by the Muslim Community Network of New York.
It helped a lot. It's helpful.
It really showed that the community really cared and were shocked by what had happened, and both Muslims as well as non-Muslims gave to the organization from all over the United States.
Aid checks handed out Friday, ranging from $800 to $2,000 per family, depending on size, with an additional $4,000 for each of the 7 families that lost loved ones. It's just part of the outpouring of public and private generosity after the January 9th inferno. A fund set up by New York State has distributed more than $500,000 in monetary assistance. On GoFundMe, the Gambian Youth Organization raised $1 million. It's given $5,000 to each of the 115 families in the building and $10,000 per deceased to their next of kin. There's been aid from the city as well. Fire survivors say it all eases the disruption they've experienced. What's your message to the people who reached into their wallets?
They went above and beyond. All I could say is God bless them and thank you.
Thank you very much.
The Mayor's Fund and other groups that raised money are holding some of it back for future needs. The Muslim Community Network keeping about $40,000 in reserve and planning to spend some of it on a day of community fellowship for these families who've suffered so much. In Fordham Heights, Tony Aiello, CBS 2 News.
There is a disturbing twist in a gruesome crime. A young mother found dead, her decomposing body found inside a plastic bin. And we've learned tonight the NYPD is holding a family member as a person of interest right now. News 4's Anjali Hemphill live in East Harlem where the young mother lived. Anjali?
Gilma, the victim's apartment building where she was last seen is just a couple blocks away from the 23rd precinct here, where sources tell us her cousin is now being questioned after they say he was seen on camera in the area lugging around a large, heavy plastic container. Chilling new details tonight as law enforcement sources reveal to News 4 Nisa Walcott's cousin is now being questioned in her gruesome death. Her decomposing body found 1 day earlier in a plastic bin on a Bronx sidewalk. Senior law enforcement sources tell News 4 they've seen surveillance video from the East Harlem building where Walcott lived that shows her entering the building and never coming back out. They say it also shows a man identified as Walcott's cousin carrying a large, heavy plastic container up to the roof and then later returning sometime after midnight Friday, this time with another man who sources say is shown helping him take the bin down to the street where it's believed the two loaded it into a car. And sources say more surveillance video from nearby the crime scene in the Bronx shows the two men removing the container and pushing the bin to where it was eventually discovered Friday afternoon. Sources go on to say Walcott's cousin also sent text messages to her family members to throw them off.
We were trying to find her.
We didn't want to find her like this.
The 35-year-old social worker disappeared last week. Friends and family had posted about it on social media, hoping for a better outcome. Loved ones now mourning her death and trying to process why this happened.
She was a beautiful person. She was a hard worker. She was a single mother. She worked hard for everything. She was an entrepreneur, and she didn't deserve this.
The man being questioned by police has not been identified. It's also not clear if police are now searching for a possible second person of interest. As of now, no one is facing charges. Live in East Harlem, Anjali Hemphill, News 4 New York.
You're watching iPower 2 this moment. Moving forward in the NYC.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Prescription drugs aren't as bad as street drugs, right?
Weed's legal, isn't it?
Drinking is worse than smoking weed.
Isn't it? Why
is heroin so addictive?
Molly just makes you feel happy.
I have questions.
Mom?
Dad, did you ever try drugs?
They're going to ask. Be ready. Go to drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Well, New Yorkers rally outside of Rikers Island today after a man died there. It was the first in-custody death of the year after 16 inmates on Rikers Island died while in custody or shortly after leaving last year. News 12's Noel Lilly tells us what ralliers are fighting for today.
Nobody wants to come to Rikers Island. Nobody wakes up one morning and says, I want to go here.
New Yorkers are once again demanding that Rikers Island be closed after another person died while in custody at the jail complex. Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down! 38-year-old Tars Youngblood was found unresponsive in his cell on Sunday, according to the Department of Correction. Today, community members joined the calls for the infamous prison to close.
For them to sit here in conditions that they are, any human being, it becomes an issue of human rights. It's no longer a thing of right and wrong, but just the human rights. The basic needs need to be met.
The DOC says it is investigating Youngblood's cause of death. He's the first person to die while in custody on Rikers Island this year, after 16 people died there last year, the most since 2013. One of them was 24-year-old Brooklyn native Stefan Kadu. His family says he'd asked for medical attention before he died on September 21st.
And my heart goes out to every family member that has to go through what I have to go through every day. Of not hearing my nephew, not seeing my nephew.
Protesters today say that jails don't address the root causes of crime or help to prevent it.
Local officials say the majority of folks incarcerated on Rikers Island are people of color and come from low-income backgrounds. They say tackling issues of inequality is the way to reduce crime.
For the last 30 years now, we've just been funding the NYPD. And again, it's just not solving the problem. We talk about high crime every opportunity we can to distract us from the real issues of housing instability, food instability, mental health resources that need to be placed into our communities.
In a statement to News 12, the DOC acknowledged the issues within the city's jail system, saying in part, "I am focused and committed to creating a safer and more humane environment for our staff and everyone in our custody. In my nearly 2 months as commissioner, I have identified numerous deficiencies within the department that I am in the process of correcting. But protesters say they'll keep on marching until they see change." At Rikers Island, Noel Lilly, News 12.
Newark going the other way with this, killing jobs perhaps in its own city in the name of solidarity with Ukraine. The council voting today to shut down Lukoil gas stations, suspending their licenses, that corporation headquartered in Moscow. But these are franchisees. The move, experts say, doesn't seem to impact Russia in any way. It is impacting local businesses tonight. Councilman Anibal Ramos, this was his idea.
It's not our intention here at all to, punish any of the employees that may work there. A few of them actually contacted our office today, and we've directed them to, available job opportunities both at Newark Works and at the Essex County One Stop.
Details about those jobs are unclear. The head of the New Jersey Gasoline and Convenience Store Association calls this political theater. We reached out to Ramos but didn't hear back. We asked a city spokesperson if the mayor supports this, but we did not get an answer. It's not pressure from politicians, but social media that's hurting other Lukoil stations because of a boycott hashtag in part. Stephen Cortopassi owns 3 franchises in Monmouth and Ocean. He says sales have been tanking the last few days. Lukoil is among several Russian companies now considered penny stocks based on their trading on the London Stock Exchange.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine is being broadcast across social media in a way that no war has ever before. Over the weekend, Ukraine, meantime, turned heads when its official Twitter account briefly focused on New Jersey. News 12's Brian Donahue with that story.
This is the Twitter account @Ukraine, a verified account whose description identifies it as the official Twitter account of Ukraine. It follows only 24 other accounts, nearly all sovereign nations: Lithuania, Sweden, Japan, Denmark, Kazakhstan, and New Jersey. On Friday, a Twitter user from Arizona discovered this and wondered out loud why Ukraine is following @NJGov, the official Twitter account of the state of New Jersey. And on Saturday, whoever runs the Ukraine account replied, "'Cause they're cool." New Jersey's social media, meanwhile, lit up with the Ukraine shout-out, sending messages of support and thanks. And one member of the New Jersey subreddit posted this very Jersey reply: "We'd be happy to disappear Putin in the Meadowlands."
I think it's an incredible source of pride. The official Ukrainian Twitter feed follows 24 accounts in the world, in the entire world, 1 in the United States, and it's ours. So you talk about wearing that as a badge of honor.
The NJGov Twitter account has gained 400,000 plus followers and national media attention for its snarky offbeat take and sibling-like teasing of Delaware and other states. And those of us who know and love Jersey know it really could be its own country. So maybe it's no surprise that Ukraine took notice.
This all probably seems like a piddling little footnote, but I think it's actually telling that as Russia and Ukraine engage in a wartime propaganda battle for the hearts and minds of the world's citizens in a way the world has never seen before, that even as the bombs were falling on Ukraine, someone over there thought to give a shout out to New Jersey. I'm Brian Donahue, that's positively New Jersey and positively Ukraine.
And over in Brooklyn, one artist says his mural of a black woman was defaced last week by a neighboring business who decided to use the wall to advertise their posters. Well, News 12's Marilyn Buckley speaking with the artist who was calling for change in Prospect Heights.
Vince Ballantyne is the artist who created this mural, and you can clearly see it now. However, just last weekend, he says his mural was defaced, covered by Park Deli, who chose to put advertisement posters in front of it. Ballantyne posted this photo to social media. You can see not 1, but 5 posters deliberately pasted on top to block the woman in the mural's face. It happened within 24 hours of him painting it. The posters have since been removed, and Park Deli has issued an apology, posting this to social media, reading in part, "It was a poor decision to cover over the painting of a black woman's face, not just during Black History Month, but at any point in time." Ballantyne says he accepts the apology, but he's calling on the community to appreciate art and culture moving forward.
Ultimately, for me, the purpose behind it was, I love doing this, so it's a passion for me. But more so, I feel like the way the community responded to it was empowering as well. Because, as people were walking by, it's, hey, I love this. That's cool. You know, some little girls might walk by and say like, oh, that looks like, you know, me.
Ballantyne says that this mural, it stands for survival, and he hopes when people walk past it, they'll feel inspired. We're in Prospect Heights. I'm Mary Lynn Buckley, News 12.
Now the lights are back on Broadway, and as News 12's Angelica Taruno tells us, they are shining brightly on one young dancer from Stratford.
And I was like, oh, this is fun, so I just wanted to dance for the rest of my career.
11 years old, and he is already doing just that. Ethan Green Younger is part of the cast for the musical The Music Man.
I'm in the ensemble, and I'm also a Winthrop understudy.
Green Younger now spends most of his time in Manhattan, but the passion blossomed right here in Connecticut.
When I was 2, I started gymnastics, and then I moved to dancing.
His passion for dance began at Connecticut Dance Conservatory, a dance studio in Stratford.
I loved the dancing, so I just kept on dancing.
Ethan glided into CDC steaming with talent.
I kept taking little video clips of him warming up, going across the floor. His legs were going past his head, and he was just so focused for a 5-year-old.
No surprise to those who welcomed him in, where he ended up.
You know, we knew something big would happen for him eventually. It makes you feel proud. Yeah.
Even as he retells the moment he found out he'd be on Broadway, tough to put into words.
I was pumped. I was just...
Green Younger is a busy young performer with only one day off and the rest spent on stage, but it's right there where he feels most at home.
When I go on stage and I see that big crowd just clapping after like every scene, it's just amazing. It's truly something special.
In Stratford, Angelica Taruno, News 12 Connecticut.
Wow, can you imagine? Ethan isn't the only Connecticut native sharing the Music Man stage. Fairfield native Aiden Icahn is also part of the cast. The Music Man is playing at the Winter Garden Theater in New York City.